but it's about them. And I find it interesting. I did make a couple of notes because I don't watch the
You
show.
can look at your notes all you
Okay.
want.
So it was interesting when they were showing her in the kitchen. And this is from a woman who says she's not doing any of this for the publicity, for the money or the fame, which I don't think any of us believe. But in the kitchen, on the chalkboard behind her, on the little stand where you'd write what you're making for dinner, she had, you know, the Beverly Hills show, like Buying Beverly Hills. Yeah, Buying Beverly Hills in a couple of the scenes and right behind her. So there's promoting that. And then she walks into Maurizio's office. And instead of a very real moment between them, he held his book up and she repeated the title of the book and they were just really promoting his book. So I think everything about this couple's promotion.
I didn't see that. So on the chalkboard, like in the kitchen, it said Buying Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Wow.
You'll have to go back and watch it. I notice these things because it's sort of my job with working crimes. And this is just a crime of bad TV, but I do pay attention.
Wow. Yeah, there's a woman, Meredith Marks, on the Salt Lake Housewives, and she has like Meredith Marks shop her jewelry, and she's accused all the time of like, she's like having a dramatic scene and she's in something from the shop. It's why you're always it's interesting.
They're
Yeah, I mean,
infomercials. These reality shows are really produced infomercials. It's why many of the women sign their life away to go on it. It's like making a deal with the devil. It's just what they do for their business.
so I'm sure this whole like I'm not going to read his book. I'm sure that was part of it. Like, let's just mention the book a million times. Mauricio doesn't care if I read it or not. Let's just mention the book and keep it interesting.
Well, we already found out, and a lot of your listeners may not be old enough to remember this, but after the first season came out, Kyle wrote a book and she went on The View, which I never watched because those women absolutely bother me. But she goes on The View and they sort of started going in on her because she had written in her book that if her husband ever had an affair, she didn't want to know about it. And obviously they're going to call her out on that. But by the time they came back from commercial break, producers had talked to them, calmed them down, and they were super nice and didn't talk about that anymore. That's TV. And she wasn't that great at writing a book. We'll see if his sells. If either of them wrote an honest book, it would sell because word of mouth goes a long way. People reading books and it resonates with them and they recommend it. But a lot of the time they just have that first shot out of the gate to sell enough books to make up for what they were given as an advance. So we'll see if they have a writer in the family. It wasn't Kyle.
Interesting. I didn't even know she wrote a book. So there you go.
Yep.
Wow. And Kathy has done some interviews recently too. And I think Kathy and Kim see each other, but Kathy told this whole story about how I forgot, I think it was Kim's daughter's wedding, about how like that was the first time she saw Kyle, and then she started crying. And I mean, Kathy's really like, listen, Kyle wouldn't be at this point if it wasn't like, basically like she wouldn't have gotten to this point if it wasn't real. Like they're done. Like I watch those scenes and I'm like, this is over. Like yes, they spent Thanksgiving and all that together. Sure.
Right.
27 years, you're not just going to ignore the person, but there's just it's like, why haven't I seen this before? Like, I just, now that you know something, because we all don't have the gift that you have, Allison. So to me, it's like, man, like, did I really think there was chemistry between these two all these seasons? I have to go back and like rewatch it all because there's none now.
Well, Kim needs her own sort of reality special, Kim Caught in the Middle, because that's really what she is, caught in the middle between Kathy and Kyle. Kathy and Kyle, I think the thing they have in common is self-image and making money and, promoting the family. And that's fine. I'm not digging it. I'm just saying, when it comes to Kim, she actually needs real emotion. She needs the loyalty, the being there for her, and that family comfort that she craves. And I think she tries to have some of it with her sisters that, she's been denied for a long time. And I don't doubt that they all love each other. They just have a funny way of showing it.
Justice for Kim.
Yeah.
I like Kim.
I like Kim too. She actually has a real heart, like in blood in her veins, and she's a person, and That was, I think a lot of what tripped her up when she was on Housewives, because I know from being on it, and this was 13 years ago, but they pour alcohol on you. They set up these scenarios. They shoot a 4-hour dinner party from hell to try and get a good episode for ratings. They don't care about the people on the show at all. This is just its own beast. And I think Kim's actually a sensitive person, and she got caught in the crosshairs of reality television. As her sister, if I were her sister, I would have known that she had some fragility to her. I would have never put her in front of the camera to make her life more difficult or put more pressure on her. So I just think she's somebody who's very sensitive, and it's not good for her.
I would agree with that. Speaking of dinner parties from hell and set up situations, what do we think? I mean, listen, first of all, let's just start with, I mean, in what world does anyone think a THC and a CBD dinner party with this group is any remote of a good idea? Should we just start there?
Okay, first of all, their whole point in having this is to piggyback off of the original episode that garnered them so much attention, and having people talk about them, good or bad, works for them because they're a machine and that's what they need to stay relevant. So the fact that they called it like the second part, they had to deliver something that you would consider more salacious. So I thought it was messy, and did they double the amount of housewives at the table? Because it was kind of hard to keep up with who was there, which I thought actually was white noise because it made me not care as much. Seemed like they hedged their bets a little bit to try and set up more conflict with more sets of people, just to, make sure that they get something valuable, because they'd already been promoting it, I believe. I'm not sure because that's not my universe, but it was funny to see in 13 years how people were so taken aback. Oh my God, your glass was so big. It's like, yeah, I brought my own glass. I did not. No, that's what everybody had. And then I had the butler standing there that would fill it whenever it'd be like a sip down, which I didn't care because honestly, I was in pain at that table and I needed something to take the edge off. So I don't care. But the fact that people just had such a shocked reaction to that. I told a woman exactly what she was really asking to hear, which was what I saw. And then B, that I was in, we call it getting marinated. I was enjoying my libations on a show where I was stuck with a bunch of women that I didn't know and immediately didn't like and was being attacked by. So they have to raise the bar on that. And people, with them being taken aback 13 years ago by that, and now we're literally putting drugs in food and serving it for dinner. I don't know when Kyle got so pro drugs, but apparently that's okay in her world. Now it is, it does make you, I'm sure it's supposed to lower your inhibitions and maybe give them a good show. I think it would be risky for somebody to